he's a Hall of Fame player.
Yeah.
And the whole thing with him is, does he add the final piece to his resume, which is the final two pieces probably. He plays well to help them win.
Hello and welcome to the Pinstripe Post. My name is Ryan Sampson, the host and producer of the show. That's the star of the show, Joel Sherman. Today is Tuesday, September 16th. The New York Yankees lost the first of three against the Minnesota Twins last night, but they did win the series against the Red Sox since the last time we spoke to you, Joel. But before we get to anything else, we're going to break down Aaron Judge's incredible stretch right now. We're going to break down the playoff positioning. We're going to talk about it all. Anthony Volpe, benched, not benched. But before anything else, as always on a Monday morning, how you doing today, sir?
I'm good, Ryan. Thanks for asking always. It's good to be back up in the studio with you. I think it works a little better when we do that. I was up in Boston over the weekend. I hadn't been in Fenway for a while. I mean, I've covered hundreds of games there. It was interesting to be there again, as you mentioned. Took 2 out of 3, and then I drove across the state yesterday morning and saw one of my kids in college. So it was a good weekend and a good beginning of the week.
Yeah, I'm sure that was a good trip to go up there. And, this is the fun time of year because we're getting right down the stretch. And the weather's cool, a little bit cooler. You can feel it's the baseball playoffs is in the air. And this Yankees team, for all intents and purposes, we highlighted how big this stretch was going to be for all three, these 4 series against AL currently positioned playoff teams. And they go 7-5. So credit to them for doing that. I want to ask you to start off the show, though. Are you more encouraged, discouraged, sort of the same? What's your feeling right now on this Yankees team after going 7-5 in that stretch?
I don't think my feeling is going to change about them, Ryan. I think they're good enough to get out of the American League. I think they're good enough to lose in the first round. I think they're good enough to fall asleep a little here and get in some trouble again. I would think that last night's loss, as bad as it was to the Twins, had something to do about scheduling. They got in very, very late, which they're used to, right? They play the ESPN night game all the time. It's a big complaint of theirs, which is, if you play the ESPN night game, can they be off on Monday?
Right.
They ask for all the time, and these are the realities. The networks want the Yankees. They're a draw. Teams want them playing at night because you get more fans of the game at night than during the day. And I think between that and coming off the high of these 12 games, it's not professional, but did something happen where suddenly they couldn't hit Simeon Woods-Richardson, who's not a strikeout pitcher, and suddenly was whiffing them like crazy? They went back to a little bit old Yankees. They didn't play well in the field during the game against Minnesota. So, they have the easiest schedule on paper the rest of the way. That should enable them, if they take care of business, to lock up the first wild card and avoid having to go back to probably Fenway. But who knows? There's a real traffic jam here going on. I would assume the division is done now. The Blue Jays have flown away from everybody. But when you ask me that question, I don't think I've changed my mind.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, the monster that is the good Yankees come out, and the monster that is the bad Yankees come out. You could watch them when they're good. The ball's going over the fence. They're crisper. They run the bases a little better and put some threat on teams. They field a little better. And then there's a game like last night where they don't hit the ball. They're striking out too much. They're too homer reliant, and their defense goes bad. Their base running, not great. Either of those two teams could show up in October.
Yeah.
If the right one shows up, maybe they get through. If the wrong one shows up, we'll be sitting here talking about, wow, they got bounced in the first round after going to the World Series last year.
So much of this is also when you're heading into the playoffs, and I think you agree with this, Joel, from what the recent trends have been in the playoffs. It's about how hot are you going into the playoffs as a team? Are you hitting well? Are you pitching well?
Actually, I would
Really?
yeah. I mean, go look at how bad the Rangers were in 23 in September. And they kind of got their act together in the postseason. I think we keep seeing wild cards get there. Top seeds feel like they get both rest and rust in those 5 or 6 days. So as bad as the Mets are playing, for example, you could convince me they get in. I think they're going to get in because I'm not sure more than 6 teams are going to finish over 500 in the National League. We've been talking about how great the National League is all year. It is incredibly top-heavy, and it might be really top-heavy, really 3 special teams, 4 if you want the Cubs. But the Mets are kind of like if they fall behind the Reds, Giants, or Diamondbacks, I mean, I'm not sure any of those other 3 teams could finish over 500 this year. But then you could tell me they get in, right? They'd probably play the Dodgers. Dodgers have some problems against lefty pitching. They could start Peterson. They could play a tag team game with Manaea in one game. And look, no one's hit Nolan McLean yet. And so, like, it's a 3-game series. If they beat the Dodgers in round 1 and suddenly they're like, wow, they're the hot team again, would you be surprised? I feel the same way about the Mets. They could get through. They can.
The Yankees.
The Mets has the Yankees, that they
yeah.
could kind of, like go both ways. But, Ryan,
you don't believe in the whole if you're going in hot.
I think the most important thing is to go in healthy.
Okay.
And to go in lined up.
Which is interesting you say that because you got the Skubal injury, and then we also saw the Bo Bichette injury for the Blue Jays as well.
Yeah.
So some of these top
but
AL
Skubal's
teams,
making a start.
He's
right?
going to make his start, but you do get concerned, though, like whenever you're reaching for your side.
So the other thing that I would say is it's important that the Yankees take care of their business because if they could know their situation like before the final weekend against the Orioles, then you could push away from Fried, Rodon, and are we going to assume Hill or Schlittler at this point? Probably Schlittler would be the guy with maybe Hill piggybacking like as a long reliever to try to help a bullpen, which kind of goes like this all the time, and you don't know what it's bringing. But you want to, like, they have a situation right now. Minnesota is a team they historically beat up. They kind of need to win the next 2 games and then kind of take care of business against the Orioles and business against the White Sox so that by the time you get to the Orioles, they're sitting with like 90 wins and they go, we're the number 1 wild card. We don't have to push it. Because I'll say this, you can't push it that last weekend and not have Fried and Rodon lined up to pitch 1 and 2 in the playoffs. So better to play in Fenway or Seattle or something than to not have the pitchers you want pitching. So this little period here, this next 7-ish games, the Minnesota, Baltimore, Chicago, is really important for them to make sure that final weekend, because remember, you end the season on Sunday, you play game 1 on Tuesday. And, look, also to lock in, Texas and Cleveland are just far enough back that you want to just make sure you get locked into a playoff spot also, so you're not, because anything you push in over that final weekend, you might not have. Hey, you had to use Bednar on Saturday and Sunday to close games. What does he look like on Tuesday? It might be a Pyrrhic victory. Yeah. So this is important to kind of like re-lock in for them if they kind of lost their concentration last night against the Twins and be like, okay, these are bad teams that have done a lot of losing in the second half. You need to beat up on them.
I completely agree with you, Joel. It felt like last night, you could see it. Just
like a schedule loss.
The schedule loss. And you heard them.
But that's not professional.
It's not professional. I mean, they were complaining about it yesterday and the day before. And
their manager was complaining about it, and the manager should never complain about it.
Right. It's a bad.
It's understood. Don't make it a public thing. Like, you're the Yankees. This is part of the deal. You're the Yankees. You're the Dodgers. But more and more, the Steve Cohen Mets with Soto. You're going to play Sunday night games and Monday games. It's just the way it is. You're trying to jam 162 games into about 188 days. The off days are tough. I get it. Maybe there should be a rule in the next CBA. If you play the Sunday night game and you travel.
Yeah.
Right?
If it was a home game, then it would be fine, right?
Like if you're playing home and playing home the next day,
that's what I'm saying,
then you could play on Monday.
Yeah.
I agree that this is not ideal.
No.
But it is the reality if you get employed by the Yankees. The schedule is next year's schedule is already out.
Yes.
Like the 2026 schedule is already out. So you know the deal if you're the Yankees.
Don't cry over spill milk.
I would not start telling the players, "Wow, this is lousy."
Yeah. So the big part about this stretch, right? And we talk about how they looked really good, or they looked good over this past 12 games. It's Aaron Judge, their captain. He carried them offensively over these last 12 games. In that 12-game stretch, 350, 500, 725 slash line, the 1.225 OPS. He had 5 homers over that stretch, 13 runs scored. This is like the key time of year where you want to see Aaron Judge get hot and hopefully carry it over into the playoffs because that narrative is there. Can Aaron Judge finally carry it over into the playoffs and carry this team offensively? Because it seems like besides Cody Bellinger, which we could break down a little bit, besides Cody Bellinger, Grisham and Stanton have gotten very cold right now recently. Are you concerned about the offense if it's just Aaron Judge reliant right now?
Yeah, well, there's a lot there, Ryan. I think they're going to have a lot of hitters in their lineup who are easy postseason outs. I mean, Ryan McMahon's going to be an easy postseason out.
Yeah.
And you're just going to be like, okay, but you see it with Fried in particular, and more Rodon, you have to have a very strong third baseman. There's a lot of guys who hit the ball into the ground to the left side, and McMahon's a very good defender. And, if there were not other guys struggling, you live with it and say that's your number 9 hitter. Maybe he'll pop a homer out of no place and
just get on base,
help you do something, right? I just think they'll have a lot of guys who are handled. I do think that, we were talking about messaging by Boone, right? I think Judge's messaging around the homers where he's passed Yogi Berra, then he passed Joe DiMaggio was good, which was, it's all great. Those guys did it while winning championships, and I got to do the same. And I do think, it is his, we talk about the Yankee Mount Rushmore or how high Judge could go on any list. To me, yes, was he a better player than Bernie Williams? Yeah, okay, he was a better player than Bernie Williams. I'd rather have Bernie Williams' career 7 times a week, twice on Sunday. Championships matter. And like the guys who are at the very top of this, the Ruth, Garrick, DiMaggio, Mantle, Jeter, Whitey Ford, Mariano Rivera, these are guys who not only were champions, but then in October performed.
Yes.
And Judge has not done that yet. He's a guy who can get handled in the postseason. I do remember that the narrative around, and this is a problematic guy because of the steroid history, but the narrative around Barry Bonds was he couldn't hit in the postseason. And then in 2002, when the Giants got all the way to Game 7 of the World Series, he was great. He was great. And I assume that Judge is such a great hitter that at some point he'll have 3 weeks in October where it does click. But he does need it for his legacy. He's a Hall of Famer, and he's an historically great Yankee. He has a pretty good chance to win a 3rd AL MVP, which Yogi did, which Mantle did, which DiMaggio did.
Rarefied air.
But they did it all with championships tied to it. By the way, easier championships because it's one round, fewer teams. I get it. The pitching is ridiculous now. The velocity, the movement, the specified scouting reports on every hitter. But Judge needs an October to kind of get over the top. And I think there's outs in their lineup, and so he's gonna. I can't imagine Austin Wells or Ryan McMahon doing damage in the postseason.
And it's discouraging to see that, right? Because Wells had that stretch a couple weeks ago. You're like, maybe he's getting hot.
I just think he could be pitched to right now. There's
holes in his swing right now in the high fastball, right?
Yes, and so I am not a hitting guy. I'm not a hitting guy, and I will say that this is something that was reiterated to me by someone who I do think is a hitting guy, and I've always kind of believed, which is if you can't kind of backspin a ball to the opposite field, like get the ball lefty hitter into the left center gap where it has that carry, like Ben Rice does, right? For example, like Bellinger does, right? I don't think you could be a good hitter, and it's not. Wells is so pull
heavy,
concentrated, but I don't think that's who he was when he came up. Just like I don't think that's who Anthony Volpe was when he came up.
Or Gary Sanchez when he came up too.
That's what they've become.
Yeah.
And I think when you get into cookie cutter philosophy about hitting and act like they're not fingerprints, which are distinct, and that all and I get it. Look, the home run is ultimately going to be the most important weapon the Yankees have. But last night was a night that they probably needed to get the ball in play against Simeon Woods Richardson early, put some damage on him, get him out of the game. And instead it was a lot of hero ball. Yep. Let's try. I think that's what happened I think they were tired and they said, let's hit 5 homers. It's the Twins. We'll do this. And I just think that philosophically it makes them easier to pitch to, more dangerous. And that's their game. They're going to shoot 3-pointers. They're going to try to hit homers. That's how they're going to win. It was funny. I got home from Massachusetts yesterday after I saw my son, and just as I was unpacking, I just flipped on the TV, and the final 6 minutes of Game 2 of the Celtic-Knicks series was on, and I watched the end of it, and I was like, oh, the Celtics remind me of the Yankees. The 3-pointers stopped going in.
Yes.
And they had no way to stop the run by the Knicks. I just feel like we saw it the other night where how valuable homers could be. The Yankees go down 6-0 to one of the two best pitchers in the American League this year, Garrett Crochet, but they hit 3 homers and they get
did.
back in the game. I understand the value of the three-pointer and the homer, but sometimes the batted ball has a great value, and the Yankees can really be shut down by good pitching when batted ball matters a lot. And they're at a point now where they're more athletic, and the batted ball would have some value to them.
Though that's kind of like the reason why I wanted to ask about Judge, because this was against AL playoff teams that he did this against.
He did
and
well.
these are the teams that he's going to be facing in the wild
You're talking
card.
about all or nothing, though. Like his
Right.
numbers against Crochet are like this year are like 2 for 14 with 10 strikeouts. The 2 are homers.
Yeah.
So like he does have a lot of homers in October. What he doesn't have is signature homers, the ones that turn games around, like we've seen him do during the regular season. And for his legacy, he's a Hall of Famer. He's a historically great Yankee. He's a 99's going to get retired someday. He's just a great player.
Yeah.
He's a great player, but there's a difference between Yankee great and everything else. I think I once mentioned this on a previous show. Because Boston went so long without winning a championship, their Mount Rushmore could have guys like Ted Williams and Carl Yastrzemski who never won championships because they were just great players and the team went a long time. It's hard to break into a Yankee higher group because they've won so often that if you don't win with the numbers, there's like you get to the velvet rope of the final stage, but you don't get beyond the velvet rope.
So it's going to be focused on him. We know that, and like you said, they got to handle their business over these teams. They got to beat up on the bad teams like they have this year, which has been their MO.
And take and again, I really emphasize it. You want to be set up for the postseason, pitching wise,
right?
How you want. So getting into that last Friday before the end of the regular season, we're locked.
Mm-hmm.
We're locked in. We know we're in. We're getting home games. Now it's like, okay, we're going to start. Ryan Yarbrough starting today. And
Jason Dominguez is playing a bunch.
Yes, and like we're going to throw everybody one inning each just to kind of and like Judge and Stanton don't have to play the outfield. Mm-hmm. We're getting ready for Tuesday night. That has to be part of this, like seize the moment against bad teams that you're going against. And forgive me, Ryan, let me add one other thing I wrote about it is when the Yankees were at their best this season, which was about the first 60-ish games or so, Judge was the best player on the planet, and Max Fried was a Cy Young candidate. We're back over about the last 5 starts. Boston was a little of this, but he kind of kept them in the game, and really he went 3-0 with good numbers during this 12-game stretch against good teams, the kind of teams you're going to see in the playoffs. And so the ace and the great player, when they were kind of carrying – the Yankees are a star-driven team. They have some better complementary players than they've had in recent years, but they're star-driven. And so they need Fried Rodon to be special. They need Bednar and at least one other reliever. You know, whoever that is, like Weaver hasn't been good recently. I still kind of think Weaver's the guy, but he hasn't been good recently. You know, is Devin Williams doing something? You know, that's a hard guy to trust. Will Fernando Cruz ever get his act in? Like whatever.
Leiter,
but like
Hill?
Bellinger, Stanton, Judge. Like if that is kind of all percolating at the same time, this is who the Yankees are.
Yeah.
They're a top 8 on the 26-man roster team with complementary players. And those guys have to be going. And the fact that Fried and Judge were so good during the 12 games, I think that's encouraging.
Yes.
And then the next important thing is to really put their foot down the next week and just going into that. I'm going to be so repetitive about it because the postseason, I talked to a manager I really respect recently, and I asked him, I said, what's important? And he said, you have to have your guys lined up. He said, you're going to need to use all of your pitching, 13, like the way the playoffs are set up. So you better make sure that the guys who are best are ready to give you the most. And if you have to push it to the end, you might not be able to do it.
It's a great point by you, Joel, and something to pay attention to if the Yankees can handle their business over the next couple weeks. The Cody Bellinger part of this whole lineup too, right? Because you said there's a lot of easy outs in this lineup. I feel like Cody Bellinger is not an easy out in this lineup. He's proven it all year long. His 2-strike and 2-out approach is incredible. Can you just tell me about Saturday night's at bat? How amazing that at-bat was from Bellinger. 9 pitches, going up against Aroldis Chapman, who's barely given up a run this year, but he did give up the run, the double. Judge was on second. What did you make of that at-bat from Cody Bellinger?
So I thought everyone in that inning had a good at-bat, including the guys who opened the inning with outs, right? Like it was Grisham and Rice, I think, and that's lefties on lefties. Then Judge killed the ball and got on first. Look, I think lefty on lefty, if you fall behind Aroldis Chapman 0-2, I think this year it was 1 for 13 with a single. That was 0-2 against him. And Bellinger took 3 pitches to get to 3-2. He fouled off 3 pitches, and on pitch 9, he hits the green monster. And that was, like, I had somebody say, you wrote about, like, they were winning the game at that point by a run, and you wrote about, like, an insurance run. And I said, do you know what an insurance run is? Yankees, Red Sox, and Fenway Park, especially since the whole game, the Red Sox, that game, the Yankees had the big lead, and the Red Sox were coming back, and the Bellinger hit kind of said, game over.
Yes.
That's what that hit
They don't
said.
have Mariano Rivera closing out games where no one's getting on base and the Red Sox are flirting
No,
with
Bednar
danger.
was really good against
Bednar was really good. I'll give him credit. But you know what I
yes.
mean, though? The insurance run is so huge there.
So Bellinger's numbers, and I don't have it in front of me. I wrote it that day. Like, for the number of at-bats left on left in Yankee history, the only guy who's ever had a better batting average is Babe Ruth in a season. It's like Bellinger was like 360. Ruth had like a 370, like something. The last time, it's runners in scoring position. He's been terrific with 2 outs. He leads the team in 2-out RBIs. He's constantly a very good 2-strike hitter. So I track 2-strike hitting all season because I feel the postseason is very much like hitting with 2 strikes even when it's 0-0. Like, everyone's giving you their best killer pitch on every pitch. And so I think guys who hit well with 2 strikes are guys who can handle postseason pitching, and I know Bellinger can do that. And that's the thing is, like, look, the likelihood that you get it for 3-4 weeks, who knows? But this Stanton with the Bellinger you see all year, this Judge with the Bellinger you see all year, if they get postseason Stanton, and that's the 3 guys, and you have to figure out how to get those 3 guys out 12 to 15 times a night. In the postseason, that's real nitro, middle of the lineup. Will they get there? Like I'm wondering, has Stanton lost his legs a little bit by having to play the field? Like I get it. I give him credit for going out there and giving them, something so both guys could be in the lineup. I assume October 1st, Judge is playing right field every day. I'm going to assume on October 1st he's going to throw the ball. Maybe I shouldn't assume that. They keep telling me it's a process, and that there are people behind the scenes who are telling me don't worry. But
their history,
I was up there. I was up over the weekend, and the vibe I got is when he needs to throw the ball for real,
of course,
he'll be able to throw the ball for real. But he probably needs to do that a couple of times in a game before then, just to kind of like that first time he does it, he doesn't like. Yeah. But they're also managing it, knowing that he has to get to the postseason. Like, look, even if he has to lob it in the postseason, you're going to take that risk because you need the 4 or 5 plate appearances from one of the 2 or 3 best hitters in the world. Yes. It's just the reality of the situation. But look, there's a lot on the Yankees' plate. There's a lot on everything. I'm telling you, if we were doing a Phillies podcast, even with them winning now, the people would be talking about, you can't play Nick Castellanos. Do you really want Alex Bohm to come back to the lineup? No, Zach Wheeler. If we're doing a Dodgers, everyone's got issues. And that's why I do think there is – I know people don't like the idea that the postseason is a crapshoot. I think it is a crapshoot with quotation marks around it. If you're set up in certain ways, it improves your crapshoot chances. But as we see, like, if the Twins win one of the next 2 games, they're going to win a best 2 out of 3 from the Yankees. Like, things happen in 3-game series, and the Yankees have spent 25 years kicking the crap out of – talk about crapshoot, kicking the crap out of the Twins. So strange things happen in 3-game series and 5-game series and even 7-game series. I think it could happen, but man, the Yankees, if they could get those 3 guys going, I think it's a big deal.
Yeah, for sure. It like you said, if Stan becomes playoff Stan and Bellinger continues what he does in 2 outs and 2-strike approach, it's imperative. And then Judge is obviously the key for all of this. I feel, as always, The Yankees go as
It's a
Aaron
legacy.
Judge goes.
It's a legacy October for him.
Sure.
And all Octobers from now on will be legacy Octobers because the regular season, even if he finishes second for MVP, it's going to be 2 firsts, 3 other top 4s. Like, he's been the dominant American League player for almost a decade.
Look, I think Aaron Judge would trade an MVP this year for a championship
and a good October.
And a good October,
right?
Yeah.
So, like I get it. He's a Hall of Fame player.
Yeah.
And the whole thing with him is, does he add the final piece to his resume, which is the final 2 pieces probably. He plays well to help them win a championship.
So the other thing that we haven't brought up about this lineup and also this defense is the Anthony Volpe factor. So this was a big discussion over the weekend before leading into the Red Sox series. We find out Anthony Volpe is dealing with a partially torn labrum in the shoulder. I'm pretty sure I asked you about this months ago when he dove and he was out for a couple of games, and I asked you, do they need to rest him because I don't know if he's dealing with an injury. Turns out they reveal he is dealing with an injury, a partially torn labrum. He got a cortisone shot. They played Jose Caballero at short all weekend long. They win the series against the Red Sox. Jose Caballero did some damage, but he also has the headaches, as always, making outs on the base pass. But then he does amazing things where he steals third base, and Ryan McMahon hits a hard ground ball to second. He comes home, forces the ball. It's a bad throw, and then McMahon ends up on second as well, and they get another run off of that from Ben Rice. So, I mean, like, what's going on here with the Anthony Volpe situation? Has this guy been quietly benched by the Yankees by using the injury as an excuse?
All right, so let's go back a week. I think I wrote, and we talked about it last week, that I think Jose Caballero is going to be the shortstop. This was before I was the one who broke the story that he got a shot for a cortisone shot for his shoulder. Before we knew about that, I was like, Caballero is going to be the shortstop. You just have to take this, like the back end of the 12 games, that tension was taken away from the Yankees. What I also said last week was, if you play Jose Caballero enough, you'll see all the things you don't like also, right? And so we've seen some of that. And so I feel like Volpe's going to start one of the next 2 games in Minnesota. That's my gut. And Boone is going to see what it looks like. Like, did this calm down his shoulder? Did sitting kind of calm down, whatever? And Boone is not going to give up on Volpe totally. I think he is of the mindset. I would remember this, like
the World Series last year.
Yeah, and also that last year there were, like, he took Clay Holmes out of the closer spot, right? Mm-hmm. Like, he took Jose Trevino out of the starting catching spot. Like, he let other guys win jobs as the season goes along. I think this is now a fluid situation. I feel like the first time, like, even if Volpe plays well for the next, like, he plays well, if he were in the lineup sometime in the next couple of days and played a couple of games in a row and it goes well, it's, again, part of the monster with them, where it's like the first time he, like, bounces one and Ben Rice, who can't scoop it all, has a problem with it. It's the monster, and it's the narrative, and it flows, and that's not a reason to not play the best option. I wonder at this point if you can make a case that Volpe is the best option, even healthy. Because I don't know that he's a better hitter than Caballero. I don't know that he's a better fielder than Caballero. And I'm positive he's not as good a base runner. And that's one of Volpe's strengths. I think Volpe's going to get a little chance here by Boone. Once again, I think Boone thinks he's a very good player. And that he could bring something. We'll see. Caballero, I do think, again, you see it when he doesn't turn that double play. He gets absent-minded on the bases every once in a while. Like, I'm with David Cohn. Because I said this. I'm sitting next to Dan Martin and Greg Joyce. Was it Chisholm? Somebody tried to steal third base against Narvaez with a lefty batter up in Boston. I don't remember.
It was Caballero.
Was Caballero?
It was Caballero.
Was he safe?
No, he was out. He was
right.
out.
And I said, I just wouldn't go Narvaez empty side with the lefty hitter.
Yeah,
up.
and it was a lefty pitcher who's staring right at you when you're trying to do
No.
it. Oh, sorry.
I'm talking about stealing third base with a lefty hitter up, like
okay.
Caballero did it. I think Jazz tried to do
That's
it.
right. Jazz did try to do
and
it,
got
yeah.
thrown out in third because he had a game where he was thrown out of third and thrown out
and
at
it was
home.
last night that Caballero did it against a lefty pitcher,
Right.
which again he's staring right at you, and you shouldn't.
Well, yeah,
But, like,
but my point is more the lefty hitter and Narvaez, who's a real good thrower. The catcher last night's not a good thrower, but it's just like I wouldn't be trying to steal in that situation. Get the righty hitter up, whatever. I know that Boone has been interesting on it, where he because he told me this a couple of months ago. We were having a private conversation about base running, and he was like, "I know what's said about us." He goes, "I actually think we need to make more mistakes on the base." He says, "I think we've gotten too because of the word about us." He said, "I think we've gotten too conservative."
Yeah.
He said, "I think we have to try some things." I do think, again, teams are going to scout like crazy for a postseason series, and that like move 40 feet off the base thing that Caballero does during the regular season. If you play a with it team, that's an out. The pitcher's just going to step off, turn around, and you're out, right? Like, I wonder a little bit about if the Mets get in. Juan Soto's steals all season are nobody paying attention to him. In the postseason, I'd like to believe that the best teams are going to be there, and you can't just do that. We'll see. Back to the Volpe thing. My gut is Caballero is, just because it takes something off the table around the team, and he does give the ability, when he gets on base, it's something he could get absent-minded on defense, but he's better than this version of Volpe. I think it's him, but I think Aaron Boone is going to try over the next week, like play Volpe tonight, play Caballero the next day, play Volpe, and now Volpe plays well in the 2 games, play Volpe again. Did he play well? I think he thinks the best Yankee team has Anthony Volpe at shortstop.
That's crazy. I'm sorry. It's incorrect.
Yeah.
It's wrong thinking from Aaron Boone.
Yeah.
I've seen enough as a sample size from Anthony Volpe, and he could blame the injury if they want to use it as an excuse. I just don't think he's a good enough hitter. And I think Caballero, like you said, you deal with the headaches. He provides enough for you offensively when he gets on base, and the dangers that he can provide to another team, just running the bases. It's so much clean. It's so much better.
I do think what I would try to avoid if I were Boone is the situation from 2 years ago, 3 years. What was it? Where during the postseason you had kind of Falefa started games, Peraza started games, and Cabrera started games. I think once the postseason starts, he needs to have a shortstop. And whoever it is, and you try to go with it, unless you think a matchup is so specific, but it's both right-hand hitters, like, I'm not sure that there's
the defensive part of this has to be coming to the equation as well.
Yeah,
you're talking about Fried and Rodon, who get a ton of ground balls to the left side of the infield. I can't have a legit liability in Anthony Volpe there at short, where, again,
I also can't have a shortstop who thinks it's a running play into the line, trying to run to second base and not getting an inning-ending double play like Caballero did last night. I think, again, I went out on the limb a week ago and literally wrote, I think this is going to be how it goes, because it's just too much noise around it. You could shut it off, and it's been shut off. Be curious who's playing shortstop the next 2 nights in Minnesota.
That's fine. You can play him versus Minnesota, and you can play him versus Baltimore. You can play him versus the White Sox.
But if you're playing them, you're trying to get them back.
But here's the thing. I'm not falling for that, though. That's like me falling for the Jets in week 1. Anthony Volpe can do well versus these teams that have AAA pitchers throwing out there that he can hit well against. Congratulations.
He hit well in the postseason against the best pitchers last year.
He did. AL Central teams last year.
He hit well against the Dodgers.
He finally showed up against the Dodgers, but all season long, what makes you think is going to be any different?
I was on record a week ago.
Yeah, I know
I think Caballero will be the shortstop. I don't manage the Yankees. The guy who manages the Yankees I think if he was sitting here on Truth Serum would say our best team has Anthony Volpe at shortstop.
That's crazy. I think that's crazy. All right, let's move on to the bullpen. You mentioned Luke Weaver. He again struggles last night. Camilo Duvall hasn't really become anything in this bullpen, and they traded for him at the deadline as well. Bednar has locked in the closer role. We've seen Fernando Cruz. He's been like this since he's come back from the IL. What is your sense on how the bullpen shapes up here for the playoffs? Who is their most reliable to get those last 9 outs?
I think the Yankees are going to be like at least 10 teams in the postseason, which is when it comes to the bullpen.
Yeah.
Ryan, we live in an amazing time for baseball. We've never had more pitchers and less pitching. I think by the time we get to this time of year, the bullpen guys who have gone, first of all, very few guys have gone from March 27th to today without being on the injured list or being lost, etc., in some way. So, but the guys who've gone like the distance, the style of pitching that they do now, I think a lot of guys are on fumes. The Yankees, obviously, like one of the guys they traded for was Jake Bird. He's a non-factor. He's in the minor leagues. They traded a couple of years ago for Scott Efros. I assume he doesn't even stay on the roster in the offseason. He's a non-issue. I think they thought they had something for a while in Ian Hamilton. They didn't. You watch The Right Night with Fernando Cruz or Camilo Doval. You're like, wow. When Camilo Doval throws strike one, wow. Like it's a different at-bat. But you have no idea where the ball's going with both guys. They're walk heavy. They're bad count heavy. I think this is bullpens around the sport. The Dodgers, who are going to be in a very similar situation to the Yankees, they're probably going to win the NL West, but not have one of the two best records. So they're going to be in a best of three. Last night after the game, after their bullpen blew the game, Dave Roberts said, "Yeah, I don't know who our bullpen is." That's the defending champions, who, by the way, in the offseason, re-signed Tanner Scott, re-signed Blake Trinan, signed Kirby Yates, traded last year for Michael Kopech, like have all these good young arms. We're 12 games from the end of the season. The defending champion manager, a two-time World Series manager, was asked, "Who are you closing with?" And he was like, "I don't know." I just think this is now one or two of these bullpens is going to get hot for 3 weeks. Yeah. It's going to be inexplicable. We're going to try to explain it because this is what we do. We're like, wow, they did this with Duvall, and now he's like this in the strike zone, and Devin Williams. It will be the Yankees or if Ryan Helsley had a good 3 weeks in the postseason, would you be shocked?
I would be shocked at this point, to be honest with you right now.
Maybe, but he's a talented guy.
Yeah, he's a talented guy. It's the same reaction I'd have if Devin Williams has a great 3 weeks.
Right, but these are really talented guys who could have a good 3 weeks.
Because I don't think Devin Williams can handle the postseason, to be honest with you.
And that's probably correct, Ryan, but I'm telling you, we'd feel this way about the Phillies got David Robinson and Yoan Duran. Duran gave up a homer last night, but he's been generally great besides that and a blow-up against the Mets at Citi Field. He's been great. David Robertson just showed up in August, and he's been David Robinson, which is amazing. He's 40. But the rest of their bullpen is all So part of this is, do you think Luis Gil could help their bullpen?
I do, and that's what I was going to follow up with.
At least in the first round.
Yeah, in the first round, because I think his stuff will tick up, obviously, out of the bullpen. You're asking him, hey, you're going to be throwing harder. We'll get us 1 inning or even 2 innings, depending on how good it goes. And I think he could.
But he could walk the ballpark, too. It's could. That's the thing. The one thing is he's hard to hit, and he doesn't give up a lot of homers. So he could go walk, and still get out of an inning.
Yeah.
So could Fernando Cruz. So can Duvall. They have the stuff to do it. I think both Jeremy Hefner and Matt Blake, the pitching coaches for the two New York teams, have aged a lot this year. Mainly, I think both guys look at the walk numbers for their guys, and they're just it's not sustainable to winning for both New York teams. And one of the things you're seeing with Bednar is he's in attack mode. He is here it is. It's strike one, strike two. He doesn't get to even 3 balls that much. I was joking the other night, when Fernando Cruz came in, I said, "What? Let's just start to count at 3 and 2 and save 2 minutes here. We're looking for time a game. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. Let's just do it."
Yeah.
And I just think I don't know whose bullpen's gonna pitch well. It will be inexplicable.
Yes.
And they'll probably win a championship because of it.
So the other thing about it is as they're filling out their bullpen, you just mentioned Luis Gil. Will Warren struggles again on the road. His numbers on the road aren't as good, obviously, when he isn't at home. I wonder, does he make the postseason roster for the Yankees? And if he is in the bullpen, because I don't think he'll be a starter, unless, correct me if I'm wrong, if it is at a home playoff wildcard game, why not put him in the bullpen? Am I crazy to compare him maybe to Michael King in the terms of he has the bat
I don't
ability.
think his stuff is as good as King's.
Not as good as King's, but it's pretty good, and he's shown the
Well,
ability to miss bats.
Well, they're going to take 13 pitchers. Am I missing somebody who's not on the roster right now?
I just wondering, like the
like,
roster
or it's
gymnastics,
14. It's 14 right now. Like who gets taken off?
Would they take Ryan? I mean, with Ryan Yarbrough
No,
stays in
he
there.
stays in.
Okay.
Second lefty, long possibility. I think he's on.
Blackburn.
Blackburn probably. Though
Really?
gets taken off, I would say.
Yeah, Blackburn gets taken off. right?
Or by the way, Blackburn's pitched out of the bullpen. Maybe Warren gets taken off.
That's what I was wondering.
Like
is-
Blackburn's, besides that first one where it was like just a cavalcade of problems for the Yankees that day. I mean, Blackburn's been okay for them.
Yeah.
Like giving them some length and some end game. So, yeah, I mean, look, if there's games where they're using something like Paul Blackburn, they're either up 7 or down 7. So it's one way or the other. It's going to be an extreme, I would think. But
don't you see? That's my question.
I
Can
think it'll
Will
be an
Warren
interesting
stuff
question.
play up? Like like we talked about Luis Heel.
it will play up. But the question is, like, will he be familiar with warming up in the 4th inning?
Okay.
And going in, whereas Blackburn is now familiar with it.
Yeah.
I think it will be a question that they'll ask seriously that last weekend of the season when they're really formulating a 26-man roster.
And is this still you would say 2 weeks to go? Let's still see who earns that third potential start between Heel and Schlittler?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's fluid. I think if you have to make the decision today, I actually think it's an easy decision. I'd go with Schlittler.
Okay.
I think Schlittler is a guy. I think the stuff is good. He does not seem bothered by any of this stuff, and I like that he's in attack mode and he's not walking guys.
Yeah.
The walk homer is the way you lose games.
Carlos Rodon.
Yeah.
Well,
Even in the midst of a very good season for
yes,
Rodon,
and
right?
he's actually pitching career high in innings this year, which is impressive.
Which,
for him
and
too.
by the way, like that's like I wrote about it with Warren the other day. He's got 31 starts. He's tied for the major league in starts. It's not a perfect year by him, but in his rookie year, like the last time the Yankees had a rookie make 30 starts was Doc Medich in 1973. Okay, nobody.
You couldn't ask more from a fifth starter or a fourth starter,
Or
you know
the
what I mean?
8th starter when spring
Right,
training
yeah.
began. And trust me, we've watched. There wasn't a 9th starter, right? Alan Winans was the
Yeah.
next guy up. And so just, most of the time, and even the other night, he blew up and then, think about the travel, all this stuff. If he's out after 2/3 of an inning and they have to use the whole bullpen.
Like Schlittler against Detroit.
Right.
Yeah.
Like they have to use the whole bullpen. Like
Or
Warren.
Toronto, actually. sorry.
Warren getting through 5, as bad as the first inning was, that is you might win a game in the following days.
Right.
Because he didn't blow up the bullpen. And he's just been a solid number 5 rookie starter this season. And Rodon and Fried are going to combine for 64 starts probably this year. In a year where you didn't have Garrett Cole for 1, in a year where you had Schmidt for about 10 or 12, in a year where you didn't have Hill for 4 months, like just attendance mattered for them for those 3 starters. It's a good job for again, how many starters like relievers went from soup to nuts this year, from March 27th to today without needing to take a break? So the Yankees really needed Rodon and Fried to do attendance and excellence. They've probably been 2 of the 10 best starters in the American League this year, and they needed attendance from Warren, and Warren showed up for attendance.
He certainly has, Joel. Let's wrap this up. Joel's Notebook. We got the sad news this morning about Robert Redford passed away at the age of 89. Absolutely an icon in the acting game. In the baseball world, he's known for the movie The Natural. Is that your favorite movie for Robert Redford?
It's not. I have a lot of favorite movies for Robert Redford ahead of that. I would go that the most meaningful movie I ever saw was All the President's Men. I saw it with the 2 guys who are still my best friends. I saw it. It came out in like 1975 or 76. I was 12 years old. I walked out of the theater. It's about the Woodward and Bernstein, the 2 guys who broke the Watergate case. Ultimately, Richard Nixon resigns for it. I walked out of the theater, and I told my friends that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do that for a living. I was like, can you imagine a job where, like, if you got it perfect, all you're trying to do is find out the truth? If you dig enough and work hard enough, you might be able to find out the truth. And there's a line in this, if you forgive me for reading it, that has stuck with me all these years. And it's not so I know a lot of younger people. There's a 50-year-old movie. The character literally in the book that they wrote on it, all the president's men that's made on it, is, and they referred to the person who was telling him what was going on in the Nixon White House as Deep Throat. He was somebody who a couple of years ago was finally revealed after about 50 years who it was. It was somebody who worked deep in the Nixon White House. But in that, Hal Holbrook plays him in the movie, and Robert Redford playing Bob Woodward keeps meeting him in a parking garage to find out what's going on. Like they're doing this away from everybody. And Bob Woodward, Robert Redford cannot figure out, like, how can this be going on? It's so botched. It's such a bad, like they had guys fake being plumbers to get into war. Like, how can powerful people do this? And finally, incredulously, Deep Throat looks at Robert Redford, Bob Woodward, and he says, the truth is, these are not very bright guys, and things got out of hand. It was his way of saying, I understand you hear things like president, vice president, secretary say, and you think, how can somebody get there and not be a genius? And the reality is, sometimes dummies get to the top. And it's always helped me because, like, when I cover somebody who's a general manager, you think there's only 30 of them, or there's only 30 owners and they made money, or there's only 30 managers. And then you realize you deal with some of them and go, they're not very bright guys and it's gotten out of hand. Exactly the line from this. And it always helped me do my job. It made me want to do the job. And that line delivered to the late, great Robert Redford is a line that has always stuck with me when dealing with powerful, influential people. Powerful and influential doesn't always mean bright. And it certainly doesn't always mean trustworthy. And that movie really influenced me.
We are learning so much about you, Joel, and the backstory of how Joel Sherman became who he is today. And that's a very powerful line and a powerful scene, and definitely a good movie. If you haven't seen it, definitely check that one out. For me, I did love The Natural growing up. Robert Redford, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid always was going to stick to me.
Sting, Three Days of the Condor, like great historic movies. And then director, became the father of Sundance, the film festival. Just a legendary Hollywood life. Great episode of The Twilight Zone also.
Oh, there you go. Joel Sherman, we appreciate you as always for giving us all your insight. We love having you in studio, obviously. We're looking forward to seeing your coverage down the stretch. Can the Yankees handle their business, secure that playoff spot in the wild card if it is going to be that way? And ultimately, we're going to find out where this Yankees team ends up and how they end up in the playoffs. But we're going to be breaking it down all throughout the rest of the year. We appreciate you fans for coming on here, joining us on Pinstripe Post. For Joel Sherman and Ryan Sampson, until next time, hit that like and subscribe button on the New York Post Sports YouTube channel. We thank you all, and we'll catch you next time.